This is Ngai, Yuen, and I'm on an episode of podcast for professionalizing entrepreneurship. I'm joined in the studio by Dr. Ainurul Rosli from Brunel University London, reader in Entrepreneurship and Enterprise, and Dr. Chang, founder of GRITse Social Enterprise London. They're both the co-creators of the Professional Practice in Entrepreneurship PPE. And this week, we're going to talk about how we're going to sew all the crazy pieces into a beautiful quilt in our business, like patchwork. So I want to direct this conversation first to Dr. Chang to just come tell us about this crazy patchwork that you have in your mind when you imagine a business.
This crazy quilt thing came from Sarawati, who is the professor in Dardenne, Virginia University. He came up with the word effectuation. And I went to one of her workshop in Paris with M. Lyon Business School. And he said, one of the things is that, please bring a piece of paper, a piece of cloth. So I was wondering, why do I have to bring this scrap cloth with me? And then at the end of the session, she make us all stitch together and then make into a nice quilt,
All together,
all of us, all 50
whatever
of us,
shape and sizes.
in whatever shape and sizes. And this is the principle of crazy quilt. This is where she was saying that, okay, every people, what she has learned from the entrepreneurs is that these entrepreneurs, they work with other people, other entity, and then get their commitment. It's self-selected, get their commitment, so that they will actually reduce the risk of failure.
Wow. So coming together to not just realize a vision, but it's also about sharing the various different responsibility and breaking it down into smaller pieces of the risk. So if I take 50% of it, if there are two of us, I take 50% of it, perhaps it's less difficult and less risky for you. But how do we have this pre-understanding that first you will share this responsibility with me? That how do we talk about it already, or do we leave it to the end? And how do we find all these different pieces together? And I imagine this piece, we're talking about something that's way larger than just your team. We're talking about the entire ecosystem. How do we find all these pieces to come and make this huge quilt with me?
And all these come together because there is this relationship that you build through the networking, a common understanding as to why we come together for a common cause. So that becomes a shared knowledge. But of course, this is between different organizations. Similar. For example, especially when you come up with a new product, unknown market. So this is where entrepreneurs with new products, they will work with suppliers, competitors, and come together so that they will make the environment more stable. The fact that they come together, they also come together, work together with the potential customers. This is what we're going to produce, okay? Would you be interested in this? And then they work with suppliers. So that's why one of the reasons why Steve Jobs is doing so well. He's able to patch up all the suppliers and also patch up with the customers. The customers say, this is what I want. Okay, I'll build it for you. So making the unknown very popular. So what Sarawati has discovered is, wow, entrepreneurs know how to stitch.
Yeah. No,
which explains customization, personalization is highly possible in a world where it is not just about buying the same thing or selling the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it goes back to our statement before that we need to understand what is our role. So if we know what is our role in the community, we know what is our role in the business ecosystem, we will then be able to cooperate together. So in a way, we know that we at the same time we compete with each other, as two startups, for example. But if we look at the bigger picture of supporting the economic growth, for example, or we look at the bigger picture of supporting the communities that we are working with, long gone about us competing with each other, but we cooperate with each other. So it goes back to understanding what is my role, what is your role in this business ecosystem for us to make it work. Let me give you some example of, Nokia. They came out with the first, smartphone, basically. You have this, they actually came out with, you have a screen and then you can actually play games and so on in their smartphone. But why it didn't took off quite fast as when Apple produced theirs, for example, right? Because it's not about them producing the product itself. What does it take to make the product usable? It requires the network, the availability of the 3G providers, for example.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. It requires content. If you have a phone that can actually do that, if you don't have a content to watch, how on earth the customer can actually do it, right? It can actually watch it or using it to the full potential. And at the same time, does the customer ready enough at that time to accept those innovation as well, disruptive innovation? They didn't consult them. They didn't, they come up with a fantastic innovation, too early for the community, but because they don't actually educate the community, because they don't actually make aware of the importance of their products in the community, they didn't manage to tell the story. The product that they produce means nothing, and because of that, a lot of other companies outgrown them, and because of that, now it's quite hard for them to compete in this current situation.
Yeah, we have a very good example in our Ngai project. Working with the 15 entrepreneurs, they realized that wow, we are 15 different entrepreneurs. Actually, we can build our own ecosystems. So one of them is this prestige patisserie. And they're coming out with new products. They want to come out with new products, something bespoke, to serve them. And then we have one cheesemakers. He has the leftover of some cheese, and then you can use that to supply it to the baker. And they come out with this cheese tart. And it becomes the best seller.
Yes.
Wow.
And they realize that it becomes ecosystem. And then we have the pink cushion who supplies this, talk about the artifacts, the leftover empowering women in Africa come up with this pink cushion, all these cushions. And one of the startups said, I want to come up with a very African look. Okay, I'll supply you the cushion.
Yeah.
So within itself, they build their own ecosystem.
They support each other.
They
so we have
support each other.
Ace Promotion. So he actually come up with merchandises. So now, he actually supporting all of those participants or startups with the merchandises that they required for their businesses. So in a way, they know their role in the ecosystem. They know that in order for him to succeed, he needs support from the other startup, And building those ecosystem is where you can actually help local regeneration process, because they rely on each other, they support each other, and that's how they grow together.
And therefore, you shouldn't be afraid as well of your competitors.
No.
Yes.
If the way they sew is completely whacked, like really different from how you would have sewn yourself,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example, perhaps the idea here is to have a look at how they're doing it, have a conversation about why they're doing it the way they're doing it.
Yes, I think it goes back to having a conversation, building a relationship, and I think that is the core, because sometimes we felt that wow, they are our competitors. Let's actually have a look at how they do things. Make friends and then talk to each other, because without you realizing it, both of us actually have the same purpose. And then with the same goal, we could actually do much more bigger, impactful products, for example, that are actually beneficial to the community.
So in terms of importance or how crucial this is in the priority of an entrepreneur, for example, where would this stand?
This is rather important, because knowing your ecosystem, then you know the supply chain. Actually, you can track the food security we're talking about, the structure, so you know where it comes from. And it is so important that because they stitch up together, they have the same common of ethos together. For example, the Ngai project. One of them, because Ngai is one of the place where you have the highest gang-related incidents.
Yeah.
So now they have this goal that, okay, we want to help the young people so that they can, instead of become a social law first, we want them to train them to be something useful. So we have Mary O, she's a young artist, she's very good at recording. So she started a social enterprise helping young people who love to sing to come to the recording studios and helping volunteers. We also have another, this guy, he started The Shine.
Oh, The Shine.
And
yes,
he helps
Shine.
the
Kevin.
people who have gone, who have gone to the jail now and re-educate them and train them to be barista, and to make them useful in their life, to turn the new leaves.
So I must say that whatever it is that you are at the stage of your entrepreneurship, for example, seeking out your ecosystem and being a part of the ecosystem,
Be part of it.
Yes.
is and has to be a priority.
Yes.
And I would say the top 3 priority, because it's going to help you grow as fast as you imagine from team learning as well. It's a different kind of team.
Yes.
The dynamics will be different. They may be supporting you quite differently.
Yes.
You can actually use this as one of way to validate whether your idea is ready or not for the market. Because whether you have enough suppliers to actually support you, whether you need to think about the downstream and upstream. So in a way, it kind of like helps you to identify, is there any tweaking that need to be done to make sure that my product can be acceptable in the market, whether the market is actually ready enough for me, ready to accept the product, or is there any collaboration that needs to be done to make aware, the importance of using this product, for example. So by the end of the day, it's about storytelling, right? You need to tell the story. And if you can actually engage others to tell the same stories, and if everybody's singing the same song, it's much more easier for you to actually advocate what you wanted to do.
It becomes more powerful as a community to change the world and to shape the world.
I like that very much. So let's go start our own quilt work now.
Yes.
The crazy one, the crazier, the better.
Yes.
As long as it's all coming together as one big piece. So I bet you're going to go about sewing the crazy quilt in your business right now. So this has been this week's Professionalizing Entrepreneurship, a podcast series which is a collaboration between EFM of Global Entrepreneurship Movement Association and PPE, the Professional Practice in Entrepreneurship. For more insightful conversation, next week is our final episode. We are going to talk about Beyond Startup. So yes, that's right. What happens after a startup? We will leave you right now with the participant of the Haringey Project, Marie, founder of the Breadline London, and she is going to talk about the community building and support through the project.
My name is Marie Henry and I'm the founder of a small community organisation called Breadline London. We aim to support families and individuals to raise themselves out of the cycle of hardship and poverty. With the help of budgeting, healthy eating, financial education and the creation of micro-business, many families will be able to begin to create their own opportunities. As an organisation that is focused on working for the benefit of the community, we feel it is vital that we work in and with the community to build and to be a part of the ecosystem. As community working builds strong communities. Being part of the Haringey Entrepreneurship Programme has really helped us to build stronger links in the community. For example, we've done some really good work with the Haringey Recovery Service, which is a service that supports their clients when they are struggling with substance misuse. We are also working with the Spice, the organisation Spice, that offer time credits. So we can now offer time credits to our volunteers so that they can experience a lot of opportunities and different things that they might not be able to experience before. For example, they can go to the theatre now, they can go to the cinema, they can go fencing, for example. There's lots of opportunities that they can take up. The Shine, one of the other organisations that was on the programme, has really supported us with introducing us to organisations, to giving us information that we can use to find out about different events and things that are kind of on in the borough. Working together as a community supports more people to support more people to rise and change their lives in a more positive way. Breadline London is all about community, dignity, security and progress. And together we will all rise.